I'm joined now by Anna Palmer and Philip Bump. Anna is Politico's senior Washington correspondent. Philip, a political reporter for the Washington Post, and we very much appreciate the time of you both this morning. Anna, I want to start with you. Controversy does find a way of sticking to the Trump campaign, does it not? But what might be different about what happened yesterday?
I mean, certainly he has said more things that any traditional candidate, if they had said them, would be out of the race. This is something that is a little bit different. It's going to be interesting to see if his Republican opponents try to take him on the abortion issue. He was roundly criticized by both Republicans and Democrats for his position on this, and is certainly making headlines, and it could really hurt him in Wisconsin here in the next primary.
Philip, in Wisconsin, we really are seeing this confluence of anti-Trump sentiment by the state's powerful conservative talk radio brigade and the GOP establishment, including Governor Scott Walker, a very popular figure among Republicans in his state. So is it the appeal of Ted Cruz, or is it a desire to stop the frontrunner?
I think it's definitely the latter. I mean, if you look at polling, Marquette University just did a poll that came out yesterday. Donald Trump was at 30% in that poll in February. He's at 30% in that poll in March as well. The only change is that Ted Cruz consolidated a lot of the support from Marco Rubio and ended up passing Trump. And I think that this controversy that happened yesterday with abortion actually plays to this Stop Trump movement, because if it shows, if nothing else, that Donald Trump hadn't thought through his position on this and that he wasn't ready to answer that question. I think that itself is going to be fodder for the Stop Trump people.
Everything, Anna, meanwhile, happening with perhaps one eye on 1237. So what makes Wisconsin even more crucial than perhaps it had been even 24 hours ago?
I mean, absolutely. This is Cruz's firewall. The Republican establishment needs to come out with a big win here. It's going to be one of the only ways that Cruz can try to accumulate more delegates so that he can actually have a chance at a broker convention. And certainly it would kind of blunt the momentum of Trump right now. You know, this early March has been a tough couple of weeks for Trump, not a great kind of states that he's been fighting in, but he's going to go into New York and some of the others. So it depends on how battered he comes out of Wisconsin to whether, you know, how he'll be able to do in New York and in Connecticut.
Yeah, Philip, to Anna's point, the numbers had been looking grim for Trump in Wisconsin even before yesterday's comments, but here comes New York, here comes Connecticut. It would seem states where he can theoretically recover.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So there's a new Quinnipiac poll that just came out this morning showing that Donald Trump has a huge lead in New York. I think that Donald Trump has consistently, he's had bad moments and he's followed them up by doing well. I think Wisconsin may be poised to be one of those moments where he does poorly in Wisconsin, ends up doing pretty well in New York. But to the point that was just made by Anna, he's got a very narrow path to getting that 1,237 delegates that he needs. He was definitely hoping to do better in Wisconsin to make more progress toward that goal. I think this is definitely a setback in that regard.
Meanwhile, Ted Cruz, actually in California yesterday, he appeared on Jimmy Kimmel's program and had this to say about his rival.
Donald Trump, is he the person you dislike most of anyone in America?
Oh, no.
Who do you like better, Obama or Trump?
Look. I dislike Obama's policies more.
I see.
But Donald is a unique individual. I will say I was watching the early part of the show, and if I were in my car and getting ready to reverse and saw Donald in the backup camera, I'm not confident which pedal I'd push.
Ever the politician and making use, perhaps, of that breathy pause before delivering the punchline. Anna, however, Cruz, if nothing else, looks now focused on June 7th. California's 172 delegates, again, all of whom will go to the winner there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's using humor. That was the softer side of Ted Cruz, which you often don't see on the campaign trail. He's much more hard-nosed, but he is going to make a big play in California. It's a winner-take-all state, 172 delegates up for grabs, and if he can get some momentum in the next couple of contests and really play hard there, it would be a big upset for him and give him some momentum going into the convention.
To the Democrats, meanwhile, Bernie Sanders leading in Wisconsin himself after big wins out west off of the weekend. So what's working for him in Wisconsin?
Well, what's working for him in Wisconsin is the thing that worked for him out west as well, which is that he is working off of, he's got some momentum off of those states. It's a state that's similar to Michigan, which he had that surprise win in. But I think it's very important to note that Wisconsin, for Bernie Sanders, really doesn't make any difference. He's going to end up being slightly ahead of Hillary Clinton, take a few more delegates. But this new poll also in New York shows that Hillary Clinton's going to gain about 30 delegates if the poll holds in New York State. And he can't make that up in Wisconsin. And that's really the story of the Sanders Sanders' candidacy right now is that he can keep winning states by small margins, getting a few delegates, but Hillary Clinton's got a huge lead, and he has no path to eat into that.
And it does seem that candidates on both sides of the aisle are looking perhaps to try to make that pivot to the general election. To that end, Hillary Clinton spending more time in New York, even though the primary here is more than 2 weeks away. Of course, she released the ad that specifically targeted Donald Trump just a couple of days ago. What do you make now of this strategy?
I think that she has tried to make this a general election race for a while, but has had to pivot back after Sanders has had some kind of impressive wins in Michigan, for instance. But there is nothing more that the Clinton campaign wants than to start making this about Donald Trump. And her backers, her donors, really want her to go aggressively against Trump. They don't want to have the same thing that happened to Republicans, where they didn't take him seriously, and kind of there was the lackadaisical nature that took a while for this establishment to kind of rise up against him.
Anna Palmer, Philip Bump, we very much appreciate the time today.
Thanks.